whether you were in our noon flow or not. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a different class. It's a restorative class. If you haven't done restorative, it's long holds. The idea of rather than efforting, we use surrender to find that connection with ourselves and everything around us. It's a nice practice, super relaxing. It's like taking a nap but in different shapes. Cool. So we're going probably in a minute or so. The last class ended a little bit late. Anyway, we'll see you in a minute or so. Practicing here with my daughter Josephine. It's her computer, so and she works on her computer, so she's been kidnapped to do restorative yoga, flow and restorative.
Taken hostage,
She's
perhaps?
yoga hostage. So I'm going to suggest to everybody, we got these really big pillows. I'm going to suggest you try to find a big pillow. If you can't find a big pillow, finding a smaller pillow. If you have a big pillow and a smaller pillow, that would be even better. If you don't have those things, you could use jackets, pieces of cloth, blanket. The idea is we want to provide some support for our body, so once we support our body, we're able to surrender more because our bodies aren't straining. We've got the exact right amount of sensation. The blanket's actually really nice because you can vary how thick they are. Anyway, we'll get going. Let me put my phone on mute here. Airplane mode, rather. All right. So, depending on how you sit cross-legged on the floor, you're either going to use your big pillow or your little pillow. I'm going to choose to go big this afternoon. I've been sitting on the floor a lot, and I want to give my back a little bit less work to do here to get that anterior tilt to the pelvis. So anterior tilt just means a frontal tilt. Your pelvis faces down. You want to try to, at least initially, finding the front of your sits bones as you sit. And as you refine that sit, you can move back towards the center of the sits bones. The one place you don't want to start or end up is on the back of the sits bones as we round the low back. So from the center of your sits bones, or maybe even a little bit forward of that, just depending on where your back is, finding your seat. And I love the cross-legged sit, very classical sit. From your seat, finding your spine, relaxing your shoulders, long through all sides of the neck with a slight tuck of the chin as we start to draw our attention inward, which is one of the more unique things about a yoga practice as opposed to maybe some of the other physical activity things we do, which are all good. It just has a little different focus here. It's more of an internal focus generally. I'll invite you to further refine that internal focus just by watching your breath as it flows in and out. Now we won't work with a specialized breath here, but if it serves you, so either keep your breath free and easy, just unaccompanied, which is harder to do than actually it sounds, or otherwise just finding a deeper, longer, slower breath. In the midst of this deeper, longer, slower breath, if you chose that option, I'll invite you to find Jiva Bandha, tip of the tongue to the hard palate just behind the teeth. Great place to work the placement of the tongue in your mouth. It keeps our jaw relaxed and connects front and back planes of our body. And finally, with your lips closed, adding a slight smile to your face. A Mona Lisa smile, opening up the front of your throat so your breath has lots of room to circulate, refresh, and revitalize. From here, let's do a little bit of movement before we lay down and relax. So I invite you to bring left hand by left hip, right hand catches the top of the thigh. Let an inhale from the center of those sits bones, grow your spine tall, and then finding a twist, either looking forward off to the side or over your back shoulder. Holding it for 3 or so long, slow breaths. With every inhalation, growing a little bit taller. With every exhalation, finding a little more twist, even if it's just on an energetic level. Letting your next inhale bring you through center. Other hand by other hip, other hand finds the top of the thigh. Let that first inhale grow your spine tall, and on the exhale, find a little more twist. Now letting your next inhale bring you through center. Let's bring two hands on two thighs. Let's just work some torso rotations here. I'm trying to keep the spine straight so the whole body works as a unit, similar to what we did in that first class. So it's not like a shoulder rocking. It's more like you're pretending like your upper body's a pencil circling its point. And then we'll take those straight spine torso rotations the other way. I'm looking at a beautiful sailboat out there on the bay. It's about to hit the wake of the ferry that comes from Alameda.
Will it capsize?
No, I don't think so. Now back to center, and let's get a little more loose with these torso rotations. So this time, feeling like there's not a disconnect, but they're not necessarily in lockstep here as we circle ourselves. You might add a little swing of the head. Just a different quality of movement as we start to explore the very essences that exist within ourselves in terms of movement, in terms of being. And then taking those looser torso rotations the other way. And then let's come back center, and let's switch the cross of our legs. So we get the other leg front, other leg back. Traditionally, the go-to in a yoga cross-legged sit is your right leg in a little bit closer. Has to do with the configuration of our internal organs. The descendant colon goes down on most people on the left side. Having said that, in terms of hip anatomy, I think it's useful to switch the cross of the legs. And again, let's find a twist, left hand by left hip. We take a breath to sit tall, and then finding our twist. Letting your inhale bring you through center, and we'll twist it the other way. Inhaling, sitting up tall, exhaling, finding your twist. And then letting your inhale bring you through center. Two hands find two thighs, and we'll work those pencil rotations, so ears, shoulders, and hips. Pretty much stay connected, and always feel like on this one, you ever have those, I don't know if they make them anymore, you blow them up and you punch them. They were fun. Maybe encouraging too much punching. Did you ever have one as a kid?
What is it?
It's like a blow-up clown, and then you punch it, and it rocks on
I don't
its...
think that.
You guys didn't have it, huh?
No.
So they probably said, no punching clowns by the time you guys were growing up. And then we'll bring it back center, just take a breath to reconnect to those sits bones. And then finding those same torso rotations, but finding that, that looseness. As we swing the head, we sway the shoulders. And then we'll take those rotations the other way. And it looks like that wake's died down. That sailboat has nothing to worry about. And then let's come back center. From here, let's lose the cross of the legs. And again, anytime you can give your knees the love they deserve, a hand on each side. Fingers find the back of the knee. And then giving that kneecap a little wiggle. would suggest this whether you're 12 or 120. Other knee, hand on each side. Fingers find the back of the knee. And then giving that kneecap a little wiggle. From here, let's set up for our first shape. Let's do a supported back bend. So I'm going to suggest a big pillow for under the sacrum, little pillow for the back of the head. I'm going to move back just a little bit here. So let me talk Josephine through it just so she has a little more room to relax. So I invite you to bring your feet in, and you're going to lay yourself down. I want you to get your sacrum, so we're going to bring the pillow up a little bit more. So it's going to be a supported back bend, so most of your hips are going to be on that pillow. Yeah, there you go. You're going to lay yourself down and bring this pillow along. I'm going to bring that pillow underneath the back of your head. Yeah. You might scoot the pillow back just a little bit so it's just below the occiput, or maybe a little less so. Look at the energetics of it, like right there, yeah. You're going to walk your feet into ground down through two there. And then I'll invite you to find a clasp of the elbows over your head. Now if that's too much, you can always bring one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And we're going to hold this, and I'm going to join her. I'm going to count 25 to 30 breaths, which is probably about 4 to 5 minutes. So take your time to set it up if you're at home. If you're first in the shape and it doesn't quite feel right, do something different, yeah. I mean, this is all about your connection. Placing the pillow behind the back of my head. I've got one elbow, one hand clutching each elbow overhead. Letting my low back relax, letting our low backs relax. I'm going to adjust that pillow so it's just maybe about a finger or two underneath the occiput where the spine joins into the skull. That way there's not such a, I can tilt the forehead a little bit forward, up and over the chin, which is a way to turn on our parasympathetic nervous system, activating the vagus nerve a little bit. And there's really nothing to do but breathe and be in this shape. Now those of you that caught the elbows overhead, I'll invite you to switch the cross. Those of you that have one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, I'll invite you to switch those hands. And again, there's nothing to do for the next 15 to 20 breaths. Just be super heavy.
invite everybody here, do a check here, either keep your legs bent, or lengthening through one leg and then the other, and whatever hand option you chose, I'll invite you to bring both hands onto your belly. As we hold this shape, another 10 or 12 breaths, just breathing into your belly, but also breathing into back belly, which is going to be the mirror image of your belly on the back plate of your body, where that big pillow is. And those of you that straighten your legs, I'll invite you to bend one leg at a time as we rebound to the soles of the feet. In this place, let's bring hands by our side. I'm going to press our hips up enough so we can slide that big pillow out easily. And then as we lay ourselves down, back down, we want to feel like we're stretching our tailbone towards our heels, as if we're laying pearls onto a cushion. When that low back, or when that sacrum lands down, letting your low back reestablish its natural lumbar curve. That's going to be a little bit different for everybody. We want to feel a certain heaviness in the sacrum and a certain lightness in the low back, in that lumbar spine. And breathing into whatever you're feeling as we use the work of respiration to find a little more freedom, a little more space in our bodies. From here, let's draw one knee at a time in towards our heart as our hands catch our shins. And then using our thighs to massage our low belly as we gently lift and lower the low back and hips. So we're moving towards that anterior tilt and that posterior tilt to the pelvis. So we're tilting the pelvis forward as the knees draw out. We're tilting the pelvis back as we draw the knees in. So we're reestablishing that sense of space in the lumbar spine. When we draw the knees in, we lose that sense of space as we stretch that space out. Now I'll invite you to come back to your neutral pelvis, so we're not anterior tilt nor posteriorly tilted. If there were a plate on your hip bones and there were water on the plate, the water wouldn't spill off the sides. Keeping neutral pelvis, I'll invite you to draw two knees in towards the heart without losing neutral pelvis, and then circling the knees out to the side. So we're in a very small movement here. And then we can take those knee circles the other way, just keeping neutral pelvis. Now let's do one more circle. And now we're gonna start to add to these leg circles that tilting of the pelvis front and back, so anterior and posterior. So we draw the knees in, we lose that sense of space in the lumbar spine as we tilt the pelvis backwards. And we circle the knees out as we tilt the pelvis forwards. It's a bigger motion. Coordinating with the breath, we can inhale it in and exhale it out. And then taking those bigger circles the other way. Keeping this slow, keeping it steady. Just really working with a lot of awareness, a lot of feeling. I'm sure Josephine works on the computer we're doing the yoga class on now. She's been working on that computer all morning, so my guess is this feels pretty good for her low back.
Yep.
When we work in front of a screen, we tend to lose that sense of space in the low back. And then back to center, and let's lose that sense of space in the low back as we draw the knees in really, really close, just stretching it out. Keeping the knees in really, really close, we'll stretch long through the right arm. We'll roll onto one side, letting that arm serve as a cushion for the head. And we'll take a long, slow breath here on the floor. I'll invite you to let that breath sigh out through your mouth as you soften your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, softening the corners of your eyes. And then closing the lips, breathing in and out through the nose as we push into a hand to come up to a seated position. And let's set up for a position on our bellies. So I'm going to suggest we use small pillow. If you want more intensity, we can fold small pillow in half. This is pretty intense though, so you might try it without the fold. We're going to come onto our bellies, and let me try use my words and cue Josephine into it. You want to bring the pillow underneath your midsection, underneath the ribs, maybe. Let's have the hip points on it. So why don't you lift up a little bit more? Yeah. Across of the forearms, and just let yourself be heavy. So at this point, Josephine, how does that feel? Does it feel
Very chill.
pretty chill? Do you want more intensity? Okay. So why don't you push on up, fold the pillow in half, and you're going to bring it just below the navel, like right here. And then laying yourself back down. And then finding that cross of the forearms on yourself. Now my guess is this probably feels maybe a little uncomfortable. No? Okay. For some of us, now if you've eaten, this might not be a place where you use the fold. If you've eaten and it still doesn't feel good even with a pillow, you could just remove the pillow and get lots of benefit just being on your belly. I'm going to join Josephine. I'm going to use the fold because I enjoy that sense of stimulation to my organs of digestion and elimination. And even if it doesn't feel quite super comfortable when I'm in the shape, once I come out of the shape, everything just rushes back in there and it feels really alive, really, really nice. Again, we'll hold this for a good amount of time. I'm going to count 25 to 30 breaths. In addition to stimulating this low belly place, with that cross of the forearms and the forehead heavy on those forearms, we're stimulating our third eye, or sixth chakra.
My forearms are too big. My head feels too high.
Okay, so why don't you, let's see. The forehead feels too high?
Doesn't it seem really high?
Is the watch looks like it's constricting you a little bit.
No, because it's not touching my watch.
I'm going to say you stay like that. What else could we do? Oh, you might use, this is the other technique. You might take a hand and just use the back of your hands.
Okay.
Does that feel better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So in all of these shapes, the only absolute is don't hurt yourself. The other absolute might make sure, particularly in a restorative class, that it feels good. For the most part, yeah. So, yeah, make sure that we're both in the frame. Let me adjust the camera down a little bit. As we hold this version of Makrasana with a little bit of stimulation to that low belly region, the crocodile pose, the natural focus would be that low belly region, so breathing into that sensation. going to come out of this shape. I'll invite you to find a rocking horse push-up. So we can tuck our toes. We can bring our hands under our shoulders as we tap the chin down. We want to keep the knees down. We don't want to sag the low back as we push into the hands to lift on up. And then we'll stretch it back to a child's pose. And I'll invite you to bring your forearms on top of that pillow and letting your forehead rest on those forearms. Breathing into your back, stretching out your low back, breathing into your hips. And let's change the stretch just a little bit here. As we push on up, and let's take that pillow and let's bring it between our sits bones and our heels. And then I'll suggest a pair of soft potatoes, one fist rests on the other, and just resting our forehead on those potatoes. And then pushing on up, and let's bring the pillow off to the side for a sec, and let's do legs up a wall without a wall. And I'm going to suggest big pillow on this one. And it's going to start very similar, again, let me use my words here. It's start very similar to the supported back bend that we started class out on. So you want to have your pelvis on the pillow. There's different ways to get there. So you lay yourself down, yeah. And we can add that soft pillow again underneath the back of the head, yeah. You just notice the difference if you have shoulders are down, it's just below the occiput. The forehead's a little bit higher than the chin. If it's a little bit more forward, you don't get that tilt. It actually looks a little constricted. You had it look perfect, so make sure it feels perfect.
Like here?
How's that feel? I would say a little bit more here.
So like
This way, yeah.
there?
That reading up to my yoga eye, that looks
Oh.
more relaxed. You might not notice the difference.
I feel like most relax is nothing.
Okay, that would be a total option, so feel free not to use the pillow at all.
Okay.
Palms by your side.
Hold it a little bit.
Yeah, you can always play around. From here, we're going to walk our
I'll
feet
put
in.
down.
Let's go up. Excellent suggestion. Have the palms face up. Let's walk the feet in. So we're in our supported back bend. From here, feel free to stay right here, or we're going to move your legs up a wall without a wall. As you lift one leg up, and then lift the other leg up. Nice. I'll invite you to soften your eyes. You can close your eyes. So in this inversion, we're letting everything that tends to collect in our legs when we sit or stand. If you've been working at a computer, your legs are probably under the table. So everything that's collected down there, it's mostly a lymph system thing, has a chance to drain down through the legs towards the digestive tract, where it can be digested and eliminated, or towards the heart and lungs, where it can be refreshed and revitalized. Lymph system, I think it goes through the kidneys, so we're also bringing that lymph back towards the kidneys, where all the stuff that collects in terms of the lymph are the garbage collectors of our body, so they collect a lot of the dead things that need to go out. And I think the kidneys, I think the spleen plays a part with that. So now we're inviting that lymph to move towards our kidneys, our spleen, so that all that material that needs to get out has a chance to get processed. So I'm going to lay down and join Josephine in the shape. And even though this is a pretty, I've got arms out to the side, palms up. Even though this looks pretty relaxed, after a while you'll definitely start to feel some core engagement here just to keep those legs up. And of course, if you're near a wall and you don't necessarily want that core engagement, you use the wall to help support the legs. And we'll hold this about 20 more breaths here. come out of this shape, I'll suggest finding a butterfly in the air, landing the butterfly, and then bringing one hand to the belly, the other hand to the heart, and holding this shape. So we're in a supported back bend with butterfly feet, letting those inner thighs soften, and just finding that harmony between belly and chest breath. Letting that belly hand rise first on the inhale. On the exhale, letting the belly hand go a little bit lower than that chest hand. And as we drop the breath down. Now switching the hands, the other hand on heart, other hand on belly. And holding this for another 5 or 6 breaths. Now I invite you to take your hands to the outer thighs, and we can use the muscles of our hands and arms to close the knees, keeping the inner thighs relatively relaxed. From here, we can bring hands back onto the floor as we press into our hands and press into our feet to lift our hips up. And then we're going to bring that big pillow out from under the sacrum, and just like we did with the supported back bend, we want to stretch our tailbone towards our heels as we find a little more space in our low back. Again, when that sacrum lands down, feeling a sense of heaviness in the sacrum, but a sense of lightness, a sense of lift in the low back. Again, let's draw one knee in and then the other as we catch the front of our shins. And again, let's tilt the pelvis backwards as we draw the knees in, and then tilt the pelvis forwards as we let the knees draw out. It's back and forth. And then finding your neutral pelvis, we're either tilted frontward or back. This time I'm going to circle the knees together. Try to keep neutral pelvis. And then taking those circles the other way. Now let's come back to center and let's lose the neutral pelvis as we work those coordinated knee circles. So we posteriorly tilt the pelvis as we draw the knees in on a big circle. We find anterior tilt as we let the knees go out. So it's a bigger motion. Massaging our back, massaging our kidneys. And then taking those bigger circles the other way. Now coming back center, let's keep the knees in. Let's reach back with our hands to lift and tuck the chin. Chin is tucked as the knees come back to the shins, and we can start small as we rock it front to back, and then I'll invite you to pop on up.
From here, let's release our back with a supported twist, and I'm suggest small pillow between the knees, big pillow off to each side. So, would you grab small pillow and big pillow? So let's come down on your back. We'll have the big pillow ready to go. I'm going to bring the pillow between your knees.
Just a light squeeze. And let's work this one with palms down, arms out to a T. Finding your neutral pelvis so you're not tilted forward or back. From this place, letting your knees fall towards me, I'll place the pillow. And now if it's cool, you'll look towards that far hand, but let your head just fall over. I'll invite you to soften your eyes, yeah. You can close your eyes. How's that feel?
Good, I guess.
Good you guess? That's too tentative. Is the pillow between the knees bothering you?
It's not really doing anything. Like, I can't really squeeze it.
A little bit more. It's a light squeeze. And in theory, when you lightly squeeze the pillow, you start to open up the low back a little bit. Like turning the head, you start to relax the neck, let your shoulders be heavy. I'll join you in the shape. Make sure I'm still on screen here. Yeah, there I am. We can use our breath for different effects in any of these shapes. In the restorative practice, a real nice way to use the exhale breath is just to let yourself soften a little bit more. On the inhale breath, gathering energy into yourself without losing that sense of surrender. And another 4 or 5 breaths on this side. And those of you that look towards that far hand, moving one part of the body at a time as you bring our gaze back center, grounding down through both sides of the back of the head. From this place, we can bring our knees back center and just taking a big breath into your low back, reestablishing neutral spine or neutral pelvis. And then, depending on how heavy your pillow is, this might be more of a haul than you really want. You're going to bring the big pillow off the other way, letting your legs fall onto that big pillow. Once you've established that twist, establishing the countervailing twist as you let your head fall towards that far hand. And again, if you need to make any little adjustments here, just go for it. All these poses are for us. We're not for the poses. And another 4 or 5 long, slow breaths here. Using that exhale breath just to let go, to surrender just a little bit more. Moving one part of the body at a time as we bring our gaze back center, solidly grounding down through both sides of our skull. Taking a big breath in, big breath out. Now bringing our knees back center, finding your neutral pelvis, taking a breath into your neutral pelvis as you lightly squeeze that pillow. And then removing the pillow from between the legs. Rolling onto the right side, letting your head be heavy on that right arm for a breath or two. Sighing that breath out through your mouth. Softening your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, softening the corners of your eyes. And the neck relax, face soft as we press on up. And let's set up for our Shavasana. I'll suggest big pillow under our knees, little pillow under the back of our head. Taking time to find length in the spine as you lay yourself down. This time I'll suggest bringing the pillow all the way up so your shoulders are on the floor but the pillow is lightly brushing the tops of the shoulders. Arms out to the side, the palms face up. Doing whatever else feels right and good for you as we lay down for, say, 20 or so breaths. Tip of the tongue neutral in the mouth. A slight part to the lips. Still breathing in and out through the nose. Relaxing our jaws. free to stay in your Shavasana. After about, say, 12 to 15 minutes, my guess is you'll find an immense sense of letting go of relaxation. You might even fall asleep if you need to sleep, no big deal. For the purposes of this class, I'll invite you to draw one knee at a time in towards your heart. Again, using your thighs to massage your low belly as you gently lift and lower the low back and hips. Keeping the knees close in, gently rocking it from side to side. Now rolling to the right, letting your right arm serve as a cushion for your head. Taking a long, slow breath here. I invite you to let that breath sigh out through your mouth. Softening your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, softening the corners of your eyes. And the neck relax, face soft as you press up to claim a cross-legged sit. And, encourage you to sit up on a little bit of height just to give your low back a little more space, giving your hips a little more space to open up. I'm going to ring these yoga bells one time. I invite you to hear the striking of the tone, the duration of the sound, its diminution, and then most importantly, the ambient silence thereafter. I invite you to bring your hands to your heart and bowing into that silence as we connect with everything in the universe. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you all for practicing with us today. Thank you, Josephine, for her second class in a row, and now she can have her laptop back so she can do her work.
Hooray.
Hooray.
I love
It's Friday. Anyway, we'll see you all next time. Any comments, feel free to comment.